Hello and welcome to the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. Our guest today is Pam Hess, and she is the Executive Director of the Arcadia Center for Sustainable Food and Agriculture, and they're located in the Alexandria, Virginia area. Welcome today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here to talk about the Veteran Farmer Program.
So I want you to tell us exactly, especially during this fall, this harvest season, what exactly do you all do?
Right, so Arcadia was founded in 2010 by a local restaurateur who had been originally interested in getting local food into the hands of his chefs, but as he started down that path, came to understand that local food was in short supply and pretty expensive. And he realized, if it's too expensive for me, what's everybody else doing? So he started pulling on those threads and came to understand the public health crisis that exists with our food system, which is it's a food system that is optimized to create as many calories as possible for as cheap as possible, that are very low cost at the cash register, but devastatingly expensive to public health. So he said, let me forget about trying to get food into the hands of my chefs, local food into the hands of my chefs, and worry about getting it into local bodies. So in 2010, he founded the Arcadia Center for Sustainable Food and Agriculture. And we take a systemic approach to the food system problem. And the first piece of it is increasing the supply of fresh, healthy food. So we have a farm in Alexandria outside the gates of Fort Belvoir, about 3 miles from Mount Vernon, which is an important part of the history of the site. Then we grow farmers. We need to have about 700,000 new farmers enter the field over the next 20 years to replace the farmers who are aging out of the profession. The average American farmer is now about 60. So in 20 years, there's going to be a massive land transfer, and there need to be a lot of farmers to be able to continue to grow food to feed our people. So we train military veterans to be farmers, which is sort of something very close to my heart. I used to be a national security reporter. I covered the wars in Iraq and in Afghanistan, and I came away with a really profound sense that folks in the military are capable of a lot of things, and a lot more than they're necessarily directly trained for. About 2010, I was working at a food magazine, and I made an assignment to reporters to cover how veterans were returning to the U.S. economy from the wars. It was in a recession, and starting farms because they couldn't find other jobs. And I became really persuaded that this was a great path for veterans and a great path for American agriculture. So when I got to Arcadia in 2013, we began working on this program, and we launched it in 2015. So we grow food and we grow farmers, and then we build demand for fresh, healthy, local food on our farm through a series of programs, field trips, farm camp, open volunteer days for folks to come and get their hands dirty and really meet food at its source. So we build up demand for this food. Kids especially go home from our farm programs, and tell their parents, I want beets and carrots, I had them at Arcadia. You haven't done a thing if you can't then also make sure that those parents can get their hands on beets and carrots that are affordable and well-grown and convenient to them, and that they know how to cook them. So that's what Arcadia works on. We grow food, we grow farmers, we build up understanding and enthusiasm for that food, and then we remove obstacles to people getting it. And the main obstacles in this country are where you live and how much money you have. So what we do at Arcadia is we have mobile market stops that go into low-income neighborhoods that don't have grocery stores, that are not served by farmers markets, where a lot of people are using federal nutrition benefits. And we set up a complete diet farm stand 1 day a week between May and December. And we accept and we double SNAP, WIC, and senior farmers market nutrition vouchers. We also take cash and credit, and we sell the highest quality food at convenient locations for affordable prices to people who otherwise are cut out of that healthy food economy. If we want this country to be healthy, if we want families to be happy and functioning, if we want people to be able to hold down jobs and learn well in school, for people to sleep at night and to parent well, they have to have good food, nutritious food, nourishing food. So that's what we're working on.
So I want to go back to your veterans program. How do veterans qualify to become part of your program? What do they have to do? And are we talking about veterans from across the country, or are we just talking about locally?
Thanks. Yeah. We've trained 187 military veterans, active duty service members, and their family members since 2016 in the business and the craft of farming. We have 3 training tracks. One of them is the Veteran Farmer Reserve. It meets 1 weekend a month from January till December. Each year we have a different training cohort, and that's a program that is really creatively meeting people where they're at. We have folks who are already farming, that have land, that are raising chickens or pigs or cattle or vegetables, that are learning with us. And then we have people who are just stepping a toe and trying to figure out if agriculture is right for them, and if so, at what scale. And so this training program teaches all of those folks 1 weekend a month for 12 months. The next training track we have is a Veteran Farm Fellowship. This is a paid on-farm job apprentice to our professional farmers on our vegetable farm in Alexandria. It's rare that a farm will hire someone with no experience to work on a farm and get paid for it, because people who don't know what they're doing on farms can be really disastrous. But because we're a training farm, we can take that risk on and make sure that folks know what we're doing. So we train folks through our Veteran Farm Fellowship. Applications for both of those are available on our website. We are interviewing farm fellows now, and we will be accepting people into the Veteran Farmer Reserve beginning in January, all the way up through January and maybe into February. We can catch people up if they miss just one of the sessions. The Farm Fellowship is paid. There is a tuition associated with the reserve, but we waive it for anyone who says that they need it to be waived for whatever financial reasons that they have. The third training track of the Veteran Farmer Program was added in 2018, and it is for graduates only of either of the 2 training programs. It's called our Veteran Farm Incubator. And the folks who apply and are accepted into the incubator can take 1/8 of an acre of our land and farm it as their own, establish their own farm businesses for 3 years. And we support them with all the farm equipment that they need, with irrigation, with power, with greenhouse, and with technical and market assistance, so that they can get their feet wet, learn with training wheels, and decide if farming really is for them. And if it is for them, to learn in a way that is very low financial risk. We don't want people thinking that they want to be farmers, going out and buying 40 acres and a tractor, and then discovering that it's not the right life for them. We want them to understand what farming is and discover if it's right for them with us when there's a minimal risk to the family fortune or to family harmony. So the incubator, we have 10 incubator slots on our property in Virginia. So these 3 programs work hand in hand. In an ideal situation, somebody comes in the reserve, likes what they see, finishes that program, applies for the fellowship, learns intensively how to cultivate fruits and vegetables. And then with that year of experience under the belt, they join the incubator and they start to do it for themselves.
Another reason I wanted to talk to you, I interviewed you for WTOP Radio, and we were talking about volunteers and the holistic benefits for people who volunteer to work on the farm, and just putting your hands in the dirt, being close to nature, growing what you're eating, and how it has a positive mental effect on people. I know that you guys are wrapping up the training program for the fall, the volunteer program for the fall rather, but let's talk about some of the benefits of that. So if in the future people are interested in that, to feel free to contact you guys.
Sure. So right now, what folks should do is sign up in our volunteer registry. When volunteering programs come up, and sometimes things pop up at the last minute, we need help on the farm for something, we reach out to that volunteer registry and gather everyone we can. So that's a great way to get started. We'll also let you know when we start our open volunteer days again and our Hilltop Farm volunteering, and when we start individual farm volunteers. next year. So sign up immediately if you think this is something interesting. There's no obligation. But as you correctly noted, and I have to say that after you did that story on WTOP, we had so many people pouring into the farm. So you're a really effective means of outreach, and we've been really grateful for their help. But getting your hands in the dirt, it's something that humans have been doing for at least 10,000 years. And it turns out it's good for you both physically and mentally. And mentally, there's a real power to connecting with the natural world, to being unplugged from electronics for a little while, to hear the birds. This is what humans were built for. And so reconnecting with that, plus having the altruistic pleasure of knowing that the food that you're helping us to grow on this farm is going into neighborhoods that otherwise don't have access to it. That's just, a win all the way around. There is lots of evidence, scientific evidence, that there are minerals that are important for monitoring and maintaining moods that can only be absorbed through your skin, and they are in the dirt. So if you've ever had a great day, working in your garden and you feel good at the end of it, it might have something to do with the fact that your skin, which is the largest organ in your body, is absorbing these minerals that your body needs to stay happy and balanced. So there's a real physical, mental link there. And then physical activity, of course, like this is what we are built for as animals. We are agricultural beings. And so getting a chance to squat and lift and reach and dig and use your muscles for something really functional, as opposed to just going to a gym and lifting weights up and down. I think people really enjoy as well. So there's all kinds of physical and mental benefits from it. But honestly, the thing that I hear from our volunteers the most is that sense of community they have. When you come out to the farm and sweat alongside my staff members or other volunteers, you create a social bond that the next time you see them is there. We create memories as humans by sharing activities, right? And sharing hard activities creates the best memories. So working alongside people, I think, really also helps to get to maybe an epidemic of loneliness that we have, especially after COVID. So come to Arcadia, get the physical and mental benefits of working in the soil, the social benefits of meeting people who share your values. They, believe in volunteering, believe in the outside world, believe in food. And generally your life will be better. So sign up on our volunteer registry and we'll make you part of the Arcadia community. We call them Arcadians.
And you know what else is beneficial for children, especially getting children to make that connection when they're very young. And I know that you all have lots of programs that deal with children and giving them the experience of growing and working side by side and tasting vegetables that you actually help to make. So how have you seen it be beneficial for children?
Oh, we capture it both quantitatively and qualitatively. And I'll tell you, quantitatively, after a field trip to our farm, where we always have the kids harvesting and eating fresh beets right out of the soil, they grow beautifully on our farm. We have a 42.5% increase in the number of children who like beets after they come than before they come. There is a real miracle that happens when a child gets to pluck a pea or dig out a carrot or cut lettuce and taste it right from the garden. And because we don't use chemicals to grow it, it's healthy straight from the garden. You just brush off the dirt. So it changes the relationship of children to food when they participate in growing it and in harvesting it. It becomes less about this alien thing that you're trying to force on them, this pile of, cooked spinach, and more about discovery and curiosity, and frankly, food that you grow from your in your yard. I'm sorry, my cat is rubbing all over the computer.
It's okay.
Food that you grow yourself in your yard on a farm that is picked fresh tastes better. It tastes different, and it has more nutrients in it. When you harvest food, it begins losing nutrients right away. So if the sooner that you can eat it after harvest, the better it is for you. And the way that we grow our food without chemicals, by really building up healthy soil, the food that's coming out of our farm is super delicious. So we have farm camp, and kids come and they harvest food and they get to eat it all day. And and they develop an appreciation for the gifts of the farm and the gifts of the natural world. And it just forever changes their relationship to food. I would say that I grew up this way myself. I understand it. Every season has a gift, right? It's asparagus in the early spring, and then rhubarb, and then blueberries and strawberries, and then peaches and stone fruits, and then tomatoes come in, and all along you're having cucumbers and peppers, and every human celebration since the dawn of time has always centered on whatever food is coming into season. And so I think there's just something atavistically satisfying about connecting with food at that level and introducing kids to food as this just delicious miracle that continues to unfold season after season, year after year, makes for a better, happier life and a healthier eater. And that's good for everyone.
And also, they pass that message on to the parents. They
That's
make sure
right.
that the parents know, hey, mom, dad, this is what we like. And the parents will adhere to the child's demand. If they let you know, hey, mom and dad, we like fresh vegetables, we like fresh fruit, we like fresh food. And that's the good
Yes.
thing, passing it on to the parents.
That's right. It's an amazing study. You know, I was a child in the 70s, and there was a big anti-smoking campaign that came into the schools. And so all of us kids were then pressuring our parents to stop smoking. And I think it's the same thing with healthy food. When we give these kids great experiences and they get to eat all this yummy food, and see, they go home and they tell their parents. And what parent is going to tell their kids, no, I'm not going to buy you kale. No, we're not having a salad tonight. Of course they are. We have so many stories from kids who've come out to the farm on field trips or farm camp from their parents saying, we're going through the grocery store and they're telling me what fennel is. They're telling me what kohlrabi is and asking if we can buy it. So it can revolutionize the way a family eats as well. Kids can be either an obstacle to eating well or the entree to doing it. And so we help make them an entree to doing it. And honestly, like, I think everybody knows what they should be eating, and your body feels better when you do. And so that's our work, is to enlarge the supply of that great food that people want to eat, give them excellent experiences so that more people want to eat it, and then make it affordable and convenient. So that's what we do on our farm, and we're just outside the gates of Fort Belvoir on Route 1. We have a children's educational farm with a little bit of production space, and then we have a production farm. We've got an orchard that we planted in 2020. One of the great days we had, it was, you know, the height of the pandemic, and we got a whole bunch of volunteers out there outside, so they were safe, but everybody was wearing masks, and we planted 70 trees. And they are going to start coming into fruit this fall. So we're really looking forward to that. Food is everything. One of my staff members has a T-shirt that says, "Food is the answer," and on the back it says, "What's the question?" You know, food is the path to health and to happiness, or to disease and to misery. It is how you make a celebration better. It is how you make someone feel welcome. You can improve the soil and improve biodiversity with it, and enrich wildlife, or you can ruin the soil and ruin the water. Food is the answer. And the question is, what are you curious about? Because we can find an
Now,
answer in food for almost
what
everything.
I also wanted to discuss with you is the farm has a very, very interesting history that I would like
Yeah.
you to share with our viewers.
Sure. So we are located on the grounds of Woodlawn Pope Leahy, which is itself formerly part of George Washington's original estate. And Woodlawn Pope Leahy was the very first house and estate that the National Trust for Historic Preservation ever bought. And I think they bought it in like 1950 or 53. The house was falling into ruins. It was connected to George Washington, so they bought it to maintain it. So our farm was what George Washington called Dogue Run Farm. He had 5 farms as part of Mount Vernon. What we know of now of Mount Vernon was his, I believe it was called Manor Farm. So we were one of his farms. And he gave this farm to his step granddaughter on his death, and this house was built. And the mansion that's there, Woodlawn Mansion, was designed by William Thornton, who is the architect of the Capitol. So it's a beautiful building. This was, of course, it's Virginia, a slave plantation. It was a slave plantation under George. It was a slave plantation under Nellie. They had 90 enslaved people working there, and they were never able to grow enough food on this property to feed everyone. So they had to bring in food from elsewhere. 1840, uh, Nellie, the George Washington step granddaughter, decided she hated this place. She was moving and packed everybody up and moved to another place. They could never feed everybody, so they're like, we're going to go somewhere else where this is going to be easier. So the house sat empty and unwanted for about 6 years. And then finally, a timber company came out of Philadelphia because they needed the old growth trees that were on the property. They were building clipper ships. Again, this is like 1845 now. They're building massive clipper ships. They needed these giant trees to be the masts of the ships. And so they came down, they bought the land, and they took the trees that they wanted. But they were also Quaker abolitionists. And they had been looking for years for a farm in the South that was a slave plantation that they could buy and turn into a free farm, meaning a farm that is worked by free people, Black, white, immigrant, native born. And so they bought this farm, the 2,000 acres, they took the trees that they wanted, and they established the free town of Woodlawn. They sold land to Black farmers, to white farmers, lots of Quakers, lots of Irish and German immigrants. And they established an integrated school, integrated church services, and an integrated militia that protected the town. And for the first time in the history of this property, it made a profit selling food as a free farm. The Quakers were there. They wanted to prove to the rest of the South that the institution of slavery was as financially broken as it was morally horrendous. And they did it because they showed that if you have a free farm where people own and lease their land and do their work and benefit from it directly, you will be more productive and you will be more successful. So they did this work. We found out that it actually worked. We knew that this had happened, but the business records were found in around 2013 or 2014 that demonstrated that, hey, they did it. And we didn't know this history when we got here. It was a good place to farm, but we've really vibrated with the story, and that the people of Woodlawn were using food and agriculture to bring about equality and justice. And we are using these same acres to bring equality and justice into food for the people of this region.
So, in wrapping up our discussion this morning, where do we go from here with this? Sounds like we're going full circle. So what do you believe the future of the farm is as we head into 24?
Yeah, we're going to keep doing what we do, hopefully always bigger and better. We do have really exciting plans to expand our presence on the property in partnership with the National Trust for Historic Preservation to turn it into a true destination for sustainable food and agriculture, doing what we do, but bigger. Building a training center for the Veteran Farmer Training Program. We are establishing next year a community farm on our property for neighbors in the Route 1 corridor that lack access to outdoor spaces and were particularly hard hit during COVID because they had no options to get food once the grocery stores closed. So we are building out this community farm. We're really excited about that. We will continue to grow food. We will continue to serve residents in Washington, D.C. and in Hybla Valley near our farm with the healthiest, freshest food. We've got field trips coming up. We've got farm camp coming up. So all sorts of things. And we would love it for folks to volunteer by signing up for our volunteer registry or to donate. We're coming into the year end. We need funds to keep this work going, and welcome everyone who wants to contribute from $5 to I need about $3 million to build a training center. So let's have $3 million. So thank you so much for shining a light on the work that we do. I feel really honored to get to do it every day. It's rare that you find work that benefits everyone and is so needed. The one thing that became really clear during COVID is that what everybody needed was good health, good food, and warm human connections. And I'm pleased and proud to say that at Arcadia, that's what we do. We grow good food. We create health and we create good human connections.
Following COVID, that you were able to bring back that sense of community with people getting together and working together on the farm and creating this product together. So so that's a wonderful thing too. There's so many benefits to this place. That's why I was really, really excited to have you come on this show as well. Like I said, the community benefits, the spiritual benefits, the benefits for children, the benefits for veterans. I'm a Navy wife. My husband and I have been married over 30 years. He was in service for over 20 years. I have 2 sons who are in the military as well. So that veterans program, when you were telling me about that, that really resonated. So we're going to make sure we put all of the information on the credits. So if people are interested in getting in contact with you guys, they'll have a way to reach you.
Great, thank you. And I really appreciate you shining a light on our work. It's super helpful.
So, and hopefully your cat, who has been in the background the whole time, hopefully he or she enjoyed the interview as well.
Lily learned a great deal, and she will be signing up to volunteer, I'm sure. I can just get her in a cat carrier.
And you said you have 2 of them.
I do, and they are the lights of my life.
Very
Plus
good.
the chickens at the farm, yeah.
Well, thank you, Pam Hess, for joining us. Pam Hess is the Executive Director of the Arcadia Center. It's such a long name, I have to read it from my phone.
Just call it Arcadia.
Arcadia Center for Sustainable Food and Agriculture. And as I mentioned, we're going to put the information at the end of the credits. So if people are interested in volunteering, if they're interested in being involved in the veterans program or the children's programs that you offer, they will be able to find out where you are. Not only will your cat be able to find you, they'll be able to find you.
Right.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah,
You've been
let's all
watching
be part
the
of it.
Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. Have a great day. Have a great holiday.